Hello, welcome to Krafting Kitty. My name is Erin. It is Saturday, which means it's time for my weekly roundup. Yeah! So, once again, I did not drag all of my projects in here. I have more than I've been showing the last couple weeks, but Chomps' blanket is getting too big to kind of haul around. And I've got a project in the basement that I frankly forgot about until just this moment. And I never show my car project until it's done because it's in the car and I don't think to grab it. You don't see the trolley because that's on Friday, and I won't show whatever I'm doing for Fridays with Fred, or Trolley's Fridays with Fred, things we're making Thursday, I will show on Thursdays, and the washcloths I will show on Wipeout Wednesday. Other than that, I do have a lot of things to share, so I've been keeping busy. I forgot to grab my book, but I'm going to be completely honest and say I have let reading fall to the wayside and not kept up with my one chapter a day. So I think I've only read 4 chapters this week. So not very far in it anyway. Can't add too much to that discussion at this point. So anyway, I started blabbering without telling you what my weekly roundup was. It is where I talk about my week in crafting, my WIPs, works in progress, and FOs, finished objects. I have got a flurry of finished objects for you. I am so excited. So let's just hop in. We'll do finished objects first. I finished... No, this is the cowl. I finished the slime green rave cowl for my son, and this will match his green hat. So he has this set completed. He does not like pom-poms, so this will be completely done for him. But in this bag for me is prism yarn. So I've used all of my first run of rave yarn that I purchased. I'm very proud of that. But I had this one cake of prism kind of rolling around in the rave bag. I am going to use this for my Daisy Farm Crafts, oops, not closed, Creator Spotlight giveaway item. So more to come on that ball of yarn. What else do I have? Okay. So talking about car projects, do you remember last week I was so befuddled because I really felt like I had something else completed to show you? It was Bingo's Christmas sock. So she wanted a tall sock, and here it is. Why is it here? Because this week I finished the second one too. So her pair is completely done. So I'm actually doing very, very good on my goal of making Christmas socks for everyone this year. But... so this is the Merry Maxim Holiday Yarn. This is the Sparkle. There is something weird with like the dye, because this was a huge chunk. In the picture it looks like a cream. This is actually more of like a skin tony pink color. But you see this one has like a little break in between the reds. In the second half it didn't have that break. And it like went back and forth between colors. So you can see that little line there, which I love the chaoticness. I love that. And like this chunk of red doesn't bother me because it shifts tones in there. But something about this big chunk of pink that came out bugs me a bit. Has anyone else used the pups? Used the Merry Maxim Festive Feet yarns and had a similar experience? That's the second colorway I've used. I did not notice that in the first one I used, but Chomps wanted shorty socks, so I didn't use a ton of yarn in his socks. There you go. Yep, I finished those. So they are done. Cha-ching! What? I also finished, I know, you're like, what? You finished more? My picnic socks actually got completed. So, up next on the Christmas socks, I'm starting Brian's. He wants tall socks and he's got the biggest feet of all of us. So I figured I would try to knock his out now that I've got the high of completion. And then if I need to rush something, I can always make myself shorty socks. I've got smaller feet. I'm actually closer to the kid size socks. So, well, as you can see, there you go. But yeah, so I finished my picnic basket socks. It's a basket weave sock pattern from Darcy Anderson at Woolly_Waves. And this was a pattern I got as a perk from the P Foray a couple of years ago. And I used, here they are, beautiful, some of the yarn from my Trilogy Yarns sock set, which was the Golden Girl themed. It, this was called like, I can't believe I look so good when I feel so bad, something like that. I really, really enjoyed working with this yarn. I got the Razzle Dazzle base. You can get lots of bases. You do not have to get sparkle yarn, but I don't think the sparkle is coming through. When it was caked up, it was like super sparkly, but the sparkle becomes more muted in the knitting, and I love that. I have tried them on. I don't feel the little tinsel. I've used, like here, I've used yarn like this where it's a whole strand of sparkle throughout, and that doesn't bother my feet. This is the first time I've made socks from where it's like the smaller, shorter strands of tinsel throughout, and I wasn't sure how that would feel. You don't feel it at all. I didn't feel it on my hands when I was knitting. I didn't feel it on my feet when I tried them on. So, I love this yarn. If you want sparkle sock yarn, check out Trilogy. It was so cool. Okay, so the next, I have one final finished object to share with you. I'm going to take a drink. And it's a big one. This has been on my hooks for a long time. But now I'm looking at it and I can tell I forgot to weave in the ends. I'll do that soon. But one of my goals for this year was to have a bod project always on the go. A Bag-O-Day project on the go. One way you may have noticed I don't talk a lot about bod projects because this has been on my hook for most of the year. I was going to do this as the blanket project for things we're making Thursday. And I started it, but then I stopped it to do a different project that I already had going because Lori the armchair chef was like, Erin, what are you doing? I worked on that mosaic. So this has been on the hook since February. I worked on that mosaic that I donated to the bod auction. But anyway, this is the Sweet Illusions blanket. I scaled it down because I watched the beginning and then I got my yarn. But I must have misunderstood. I thought you needed 5 cakes and I bought 6. Her pattern called for 7 cakes. So I scaled it down a bit to make it more of a throw size. And this actually used 4 1/3 cakes. So I have a cake and like 2/3 left. But here we go. My Sweet Illusions, oh yeah, I really didn't sew in my hands. But here it is. I used the Beet Red colorway in the Caron Colorama Halo yarn. And this was so fun. I love how this turned out. I think it turned out a great size for a throw. I do not remember how much I cast on to start this. So I'll say I do know I shortened the width, but by how much I'm not sure. I can tell you I changed the width of each section to be a little smaller. So it alternates an alpine stitch section with a single crochet section. For my alpine stitch sections, I did 25 rows, and for my single crochets, I broke my rule. I don't work 13s into blankets. I know it is a silly superstition, but I broke my rule on this one. Each of the single crochet sections is 13. Now, that's because I initially made a mistake when I was planning it out. and I thought I needed an even number of single crochet rows. And I don't know why, but it became clear when I finished the first section that I needed an odd number of rows. And so Chomps was there, and I said, Chomps, do I do 11 or 13? And he said 13. And I almost said, okay, then it's 15, but I didn't. I did the 13, and I think it's the right choice. A number is just a number. Everything else we put on it. So that's what I'm telling myself. But anyway, I finally finished it. What? I did start another bod project. We're going to see that. This is my final finished object for the week. But I mean, the final, like, this isn't like a big, like, I love those weeks where big projects. I mean, this is a pair of socks. I finished 2 pairs of socks the same week. Those are big projects in my mind. That's a lot of tiny stitches, even for tiny feet. But yeah, those weeks where just everything comes together and a bunch of large projects finish all at once. It makes you feel so accomplished. I love it. Okay, so now we're going into my whips. I'll show this first. I've been making the Aberdeen Wools Pickle Jar Cowl. You can see I'm almost done. I got so few micro minis left. This is, you buy this from Aberdeen Wools in Canada. It's roughly 50 bucks. Their shipping is so reasonable. So reasonable. It comes with the jar. You can just buy refill packs. They look like this. And if you don't want the jar, but if you want the entire kit, it comes with the jar, 40 micro minis. This is a refill of 40 micro minis. They have different sizes. And then a pair of knitting needles and a pattern, 2 different patterns. One for a bias scarf, one for the original cowl. I decided I was going to make the original cowl and then buy a refill and make the bias scarf. So I do have the refill. I will make the bias scarf when I finish this one. And I am using the knitting needles that came in the kit. They're very nice. They're Knitter's Pride wooden ones. It does have the plastic for the circular part, so it has some memory, but it's like, I feel like this is a 20 some inch. Is it a 21 inch? It's a 24 inch circular needle. So it's not like you're fighting it over a big shawl or something, fighting the memory and the cord. Anyway, I think they're very nice needles. US 6s, 4 millimeters. Anyway, so I finished the yellows that Chomps picked out. And Chomps promptly came in and picked the next one, which was this beautiful, it reminds me of like flowers in the summer. And I love how it melds so perfectly with the golds. I think that's pretty. And it really like harkens back to the pinks there. So I think that's a really lovely color transition section. I mean, I like all of them because it's like so wild. Like this part reminds me a bit of like sunset on a lake, and then we've got this dark story here, and then we've got, this is like tropical, and then we've got more like just tropical, almost rainbowy feel here, and then we've got like this foresty green, but this is almost like lake feeling for me, so maybe a lake forest in a lake, not a forest in a lake in a forest. But anyway, I really love this. I adore this. And I'm so excited with the kids picking the colors for me. Basically, my hand can't fit in the mouth of this jar anymore. So I have the kids shove their hand in and I just use whatever they come up with. I used to call it the jar of fate because I'd like try to hold it high and just grab at random. But I guess it's still kind of the jar of fate because I am just adhering to whatever the kids yank out of the jar. And let me tell you, they don't like look at what I've already done and be like, oh, what's gonna match, Mama? Although Chomps is really good at colors. You're gonna see a project in a minute and I love it. Okay, so moving on. I did not bring my phone. Darn it. Okay, so I'm not gonna remember the name of this pattern, but I am following a tutorial I found on YouTube. I think it's from, so we are doing Daisy Farm crafts for the Krafting Kitty Creator Spotlight. I think this creator is called Daisy Cottage Crochet or something. It was very similar. I was almost like, wait, am I already making the project for the month? But no, they are different creators. This is like I was kind of describing it, I'm using the Midnight Blue Vanna's Choice from that Lion Brand box. And this is one of the blankets again in my, what does my sister want for her friend's baby blanket? I don't know. It's a kind of a window fillet crochet. It's just double crochets and little window panes, little, you know, double crochet, chain one, skip one, blobs every other row. And there you go. I think this is going to be fun. I think you're probably having a difficulty seeing it because of the holes in the pattern. Now, I do know some people will disagree with me making this as a baby pattern because of the fingers and toes in the holes. I see that, but for some reason, this blanket doesn't bother me, and I think it's because of how regular the holes are. As some of like the more airy, fancy stitches, you know, where you can get more tangled, I think it would be pretty difficult to get super tangled in this. But I don't know. And she might very well not even pick this one. I don't know if we're in the Boggy Creek width on this. Maybe. It's close. I might add, I'll measure it. Like that works. Because apparently I don't know how to measure sometimes. But I'll measure it and think about adding a border. Because the blanket as the pattern doesn't have a border, which kind of surprises me. As I'm working on it here, I really have the urge to add a border, so I think I will. We're going to see how much of the midnight blue I end up with. I have six balls of this, 16s of that. If I have enough, I'll just add the navy border. If I don't have enough, I have, oh, I can't reach it, my overabundance of Pound of Love in straw. And a lot of people voted to do the navy with the straw. But there was votes for just the navy and the navy with the straw. I thought there was a chance I might have enough to do both, but this is how far I've gotten, and this is my second skein of it. So I don't think I'm going to have enough to do both, but I might use the straw as a border to this. We'll see. It's all just going to depend on how much yarn I have left. Okay, so like I said, I will try to link that pattern, but my computer's closed up and tired right now, sleeping, and I don't have my phone to look it up. What else do I have? So, okay, this you used to see as Things We're Making Thursday, but because we're off of shawls, you're going to start seeing it now. I'm not going to set this project to the side because I am so close to completing it. This is my Age of Brass and Steam kerchief free pattern I got off of Ravelry. You go to Ravelry, Ravelry sends you to her website. Her website has a free PDF you can access. It's orange flower yarn. There you go. And I decided to go ahead and do the extra sections. So I've completed it if it was going to be a kerchief size. And I've decided, this is how much I have left of my first skein, first ball. I mean, the knit shawls always look nasty when they're stuck on the needle. Because this is the flat edge. The point is here. So it's actually going to be like that. Anyway, it's a mess to show, but I'll show you kind of the diagram. This is the diagram if it was the kerchief size. For the full shawl, it's going to have one more stockinette and then eyelet section, and then the border. So it'll be slightly bigger. I have a black and white printer, so I'm not sure it's going to show up super well, but there you go. That's the better picture, I think. There you go. So yeah, I am very, very close to finishing. I'm like, that's 20 rows, 23, 26. I'm 27 rows from completion on this. There is a good chance fingers crossed, I could have this done next week. I don't know. I'm not going to push it, but I am going to keep working on it. So there we go. That I'm using West Yorkshire, blah, 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 blah. Take it in, slow it down. Let's go. West Yorkshire Spinners Air Valley Essential DK, 75% wool, 25% nylon. So this would have worked great for a DK sock as well. I'm really enjoying working with it. It is not a soft wool, but it's not a super, super rustic, but it does have some tooth, some bite to it. If you don't like the woolly feeling on your feet, I would not use this as a sock yarn. But the composition, the plies, how it's made, if you were looking for DK sock yarn, that I think would work wonderfully. I got it from the Wool Warehouse. Let's do this one so I don't forget about it. So, this is the project that I was talking about using the leftover Colorama Halo yarn on. This is, so I have never made a poncho. What? So I thought, I'm going to go look at the bod ponchos and make a bod poncho. So I picked the one I wanted, only to then watch the pattern, and she's like, well, this you can keep as a wrap or a shawl, or you can sew it together as a poncho. I'm like, am I cheating? But I kept going forward. I went ahead. So here it is. It's like shells. There you go. So this is how much I have left of that leftover cake, and then I have one more full cake. So my plan is to basically use all of the yarn, and then in her tutorial she says you can either leave it like this for like a wrap, or you could like sew it together to make it like a permanent poncho. And when you do that, you do the cast on or the chaining edge, and then you'd like sew it how far you want it for a neck hole, and then you'd just seam the rest of it, or you could seam it like a couple inches and leave that open for like a peekaboo. I don't know. I'm gonna decide when I get there, but because I've never made a poncho, I am leaning heavily towards steaming it together to make it a permanent poncho. I don't know why. We'll see. I could change my mind a million times by the time we get to the end. Okay, so here's what I was talking about Chomps' color selection. When, oh, this was a while ago, he went with me to the LYS and picked out some yarn. He wanted a hat, and I've been wanting to try out the Tin Can Knits new app. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity. So I also have it printed up because that's the way I roll. I wanted to back up in case the app fails me because the app is an unknown to me. I'm making the antler toque. Please, Canadians, help me. Is that how you say it? Toque? Or is it toque? I think it's toque. Antler toque. And here you go. You can see it better on her because his hat is so dark with it. But there you go. And Chomps picked out what I thought at the time when we purchased it was wool. Turned out to be cotton. And a mohair. So here's what he picked. He picked this red mohair and this super dark red chain spun cotton. And he wanted them held together. I was like, oh, okay, so this is a little darker. It's not quite as tomato-y. And this, okay, that's more true to color there. It's more of like a really dark. The way that is coming together, it's like almost ruby colored. It's like, it's got such depth. Okay, that's much brighter on the screen than it is in person. But there you go. I finished the brim. I'm in the process of switching to the larger needles. So that's why I've got two circulars here and some sort of death pointy. It's not quite Ninja Star because these are not as sharp as my Hiya DPNs, but which thank goodness I am done using. But there you go. I'm working on that. Basically this, the hat, and this wrap are my living room projects. So one day a week I'm working on the wrap, the other day I am working on the hat. And that's just how I'm going to keep on rolling. So that's why they're also in the same bag there, because they're going down to the same spot. Okay, I have, just doing a quick check. Yep, I just have one more thing to share with you. Which, of course, I finished the picnic basket socks, which means I needed to cast out a new sock. Bingo adored those colors, and she wanted her own pair of socks with them. So that is what I went ahead and did. Sorry, apparently the mini is just destroyed at this point. So there we go. I don't know if I'm going to have enough for cuff. I definitely don't have enough for cuff, heels, and toes. I was wondering if I'd had enough for cuff and toes on her socks. I think it's close. I think I'm only going to do cuff for her. But anyway, I'm just going to do a shorty vanilla kid sock. And here we go. So I finished the cuff. I'm working on the leg portion. And then I'll go from there. There's always that hole here where the new colors join. There we go. I haven't sewn in my ends, so once I sew in my ends, that'll be fine. There we go, still using that. Oh, here, I can look up the name. Isn't it amazing how I can feel so bad but still look so good? Trilogy Yarns. Razzle Dazzle. There we go. So those are all of my projects I've been working on. Like I said, save a few that I haul in on different days or are just inconvenient for me to haul in. So, yeah, there we go. Like I said, I didn't grab my book because I haven't made much progress on it. I need to, I don't know. I'm like, oh, I need to buckle down. No, I don't. I can do what I want to do. I'm a grown woman. But I will come back to the book and read it because I do. I enjoy reading the chapter a night. I think it's a good way to wind down and get ready for bed. So I do want to at least get back into that. So, next I am going to open one of the mystery boxes that has been sitting outside my door. Let me tell you, the pile is dwindling, so thank you for doing this with me. And it's making Brian very happy. Which, Brian went to New York. I think I mentioned that. He's been back for a week. He did bring me some yarn from a LYS in New York. It's behind me. I'm going to try to show it next week, if I have time, because I've got the Supernova, I've got Thriss's September yarn that I still haven't opened. I should have a day to show the Brian yarn. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. You know he spoils me. Okay, let us see what is in this box. So while I'm opening this, just a reminder, for the Krafting Kitty Career Spotlight, remember, I'm giving bonus entries for donations. And somebody mentioned they were thinking about making a dog sweater for an unhoused local that they see who has a service dog. I would absolutely include something like that as a donation. If you're doing something as kind-hearted as that, absolutely. If you're like, I'm going to make some lap mats for a local nursing home. I mean, even if it's like, I'm making the lap mat, I'm donating it, but it's my second cousin's mother-in-law's great-grandma that I'm making it for. I would totally count that. Hey, honey, I'm almost done. I've got a lot of stuff piled on the handle, so can we not open the door? I'll be right out. Okay? Do you need something right now? No. Okay, I'll be right out. Okay, let's see what's in this box. So, it's another this size box for another 3 of the itty bitty stripes. I thought I only bought one color of this. I obviously didn't. I bought 3. I bought 2 colorways apparently. Rainbow is this one. This is Super Saver Bitty Stripes, 10 ounces, 283 grams, 515 yards, 471 meters. This is Yarn Inspirations yarn, made in Turkey. Rainbow, medium 4, 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, 5 millimeter knitting needles. Machine wash, warm, gentle, cycle. Do not triangle. You can dry. It says dry on delicate. It doesn't say that in English, but I can see it in French. 100% acrylic, I already said that. Do not iron, do not triangle, do not bleach. So here we go. Super Saver, bitty stripes, in a rainbow. That's so fun. So I've already got the straw and the other sunsetty one set aside to use together on a baby blanket. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put these on the shelf and not look for an immediate project with them. But how exciting! A surprise! A mystery! I totally, absolutely 100% forgot I made this purchase. Good thing I didn't go on Joann's or anywhere else and try to buy some more. That's pretty. That's fun. That's fun. We'll think of something at some point with this yarn, but it's not going to be an immediate usage. I like it. Have you used the bitty stripes? What have you made? Did you like them? Anyway, I have been a bit long-winded here, so I'm going to stop now and try to get this edited and up. And I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to try to film an opening of my Joann Supernova yarn. I finally got my hands on some, and I'm so excited to see it. I have not opened the box yet. It's right here. Okay, I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.